Hey guys, it's Snow, aka Jed from classicroguecraft.com, and by far the most popular question I tend to get these days is what UI mods am I using? What UI mods do I recommend? How do I get my UI to do this or that? And I thought I'd just make a whole UI guide covering the most common rogue UIs, what I recommend other people use, what I really like, and as well as releasing a text list of all the UI add-ons and weak auras that I use, I also wanted to create this video just to run you guys through all the trickier options for some of the add-ons that I use. So have a look and I hope it helps you out. So this is my basic UI. You can see I don't have a lot of things showing on my screen. So that's one thing about my UI that you'll notice is I like things very minimal. So I don't want tons of bars and flashing icons all over the place. I just want the information that I need to show up when I need it, basically. So you can see if I stealth now, my energy bar appears here. And if we go over here to this harpy, let's say we want to sap them, right? Then my sap timer appears. Or if I want to pop adrenaline rush and blade flurry, you can see my other cooldowns appear down here for attacking them. And then if we gouge him, right, gouge appears, and then I have a quick gouge timer down here. So you can see I basically only have the information that I need appear. And you can see now that I'm in combat, my combo points appear and my swing timer appears here as well. And any cooldowns that I use appear down here so that I can see when it's coming back up. So you see a lot of my UI, I have tons of things installed, but a lot of them don't show up until I need them, which is basically how I like it. All right, so let's kill this guy so he stops attacking me. Basically that's my UI. It's very minimalistic. I don't even have many bars showing. I actually have a ton of bars here, but they're all mouse over only. So you can see 1, 2, 3. There's one here that I have, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 hidden bars basically. And then I have another 1 or 2 bars here where my mouse is that are completely hidden. So this is where I put my gouge, my sinister strike, my backstab, everything that I don't need to know the button for it, because you remember what button you need to press for sinister strike or backstab. There's no reason for me to be able to see it. But obviously if you like to see it, you can, but that's just how I am. I don't want to see anything that I don't need to see. And down here we have my item rack. So here are my trinket swaps. So you can see if we want to swap trinkets, we can swap trinkets super easily. If we want to swap helmets, we can swap helms, cloak, belts, offhands even, boots. And that's basically my item rack. So those are, because those are the ones that I might actively need at any time, I just keep that visible. And underneath them, this is actually a weak aura that just displays my PvP consumables, because I just like to be able to see what I need to stock up on whenever I'm in Ogrima or something like that. So yeah, you can see there's really not a whole lot visible on my UI, and that's the way I like it. So now let's run you through basically all the different settings, all the different add-ons, how you get it all installed and up and running, and all the settings that I use. So let's go. Alright, so before you do anything else, what you really want to do is download the Twitch desktop app, because if you're going to be downloading and updating a whole bunch of these add-ons, you don't want to be doing this manually, trust me. Otherwise, it's going to be a headache if you have 30 different add-ons running, trying to keep everything updated. Just no. So what you want to do is you get a Twitch desktop app, and once you get it up and running, you'll be on this page here. Then you go to mods. Then you go to World of Warcraft. So it should detect all the games that you have installed. And if you have World of Warcraft, it will detect all the add-ons that you have installed. So we go World of Warcraft. So make sure here, if you happen to have both Classic and Retail installed, make sure you have Classic selected here. And it basically just detects all the add-ons that you have. And if you see something that's not updated, so every week, once a week or something, I'll log into the Twitch app and I'll check what needs to be updated. And if NugEnergy, for example, here needs to be updated, I just hit update and it does it all for me. So I don't have to go to the website, download, unzip, extract it to the right spot, and it's all automatic. So you really, really want to get this app. And as well as that, if you're looking for add-ons that are on the Curse website, you can just search for them. So you just click get more add-ons, right? And then you just search. So like, let's say we want details, and you'll find details, and you can just install the right one for Classic WoW. So this is just really, really great. It is just a huge time saver. If you don't have the Twitch app yet for add-ons, I highly, highly recommend you at least use it just for keeping your add-ons up to date. All right, so let's get into your base UI. So what I recommend for everyone is ElvUI for your base UI mod and the RedtuzkUI skin for ElvUI. So I've installed both of those and Diminish, which is a DPS meters add-on basically. So those are the three that I start out with. I think those are pretty much just everyone should just start off with those installed, and you don't even have to use the RedTux skin, but ElvUI is very, very useful because it puts a lot of functionality into your UI that doesn't come by default. And if you choose not to use ElvUI, you're going to be installing a whole bunch of different add-ons to do the same thing. So if you don't use ElvUI, you're going to have to find a better nameplate, enemy nameplates option, so that you can see debuffs on nameplates and timers on the nameplates and cast bars. You're going to need to install something for enemy cast bars. You're going to need to install something for the timers so that the buffs actually show timers on them instead of just showing the buff. It's just a whole bunch of quality of life differences that you can just solve by just starting off with ElvUI. So I recommend you install ElvUI and the RedtuzkUI skin. If you don't like the RedTux skin, you don't have to get it, but it's the most popular skin for a reason. It's very clean, it's very minimal, and it's non-intrusive. So this is how you install the RedTux skin. So all I have installed right now on this brand new character is the ElvUI mod, the RedtuzkUI mod, and Diminish, which is your DPS meters. And I only installed Diminish because RedTux has an option to skin it really cool when you're installing, so you must as well just install it while you're doing and setting up your ElvUI anyway. Okay, so here we've got the installer. So this should pop up if you have everything installed correctly, and it will just run you through the process. So we're going to pretend that it doesn't know that I have a different character running RedtuzkUI. So we're going to continue. All right, so now it's found an ElvUI profile. This is just a standard ElvUI profile. That's fine. We can continue. So, okay, so here we click DPS or tank or healer. Obviously we're a rogue, so we click DPS and tank. You can see things are starting to change on the screen already. We click continue. Here you can pick the raid frames that you have. I think for everyone, unless you are in a raid lead role where you have to see all sorts of other options on the person's raid frames, you should pick vertical because these are super clean, they're very minimal. All they show is the HP and the names of the other players in the raid. So you should click vertical, and traditional is just for people who are leading raids or need all that extra information available to them, which most people don't. So pick vertical here, click continue. And here we have target frame options. So target frame options is basically if I have a target, so let's target someone here. Do I want debuffs only showing? Do I want buffs showing? Do I want to see both? I like to see both, so whatever you prefer, click it here. So I'm going to click both. Then I'm going to click continue. Right? We don't have bigwigs installed, and I don't recommend anyone actually use bigwigs for classic. We're going to click continue. So, okay, here we've got details installed, which is our DPS meter. So we're going to click setup details. So it's just going to apply a really nice looking profile to your details meters. Then we're going to click continue. Then we click finish. So if you have any troubles, by the way, setting up RedtuzkUI, he has his own Discord. So, and he's also active in the classicroguecraft Discord. So either way, you can contact him. He's always happy to help out. He's making a ton of weak auras and UI mods for the rogue community. So he's always around to help out. Now here you can see we've basically got everything up and running already. It's super simple. This is our basic RedtuzkUI. And you can see, remember that everything is changeable. This is ElvUI, so anything you see here, you want these, if you wanted these HP bars somewhere else, you can move them, right? If you're more used to your HP bars being down below, you can move them. If you want to see a skin on the back of your chat box, so for me, I'm someone that doesn't like a see-through chat box. I need something dark behind it so that I can always see it really easily. You can change that. So let's just run you through how to change basic ElvUI settings now. So we click escape. We're going to go to ElvUI here. And here we have all LVI options, right? LVI is super customizable. So everything, pretty much everything can be changed and moved. So if you want to move everything, which is the start, you can go toggle anchors here, and you can see there's a movement thing for everything. If you don't like your player frame down here, you can move it, right? If you want your target frame over here as well, you can move that as well, right? If you don't want your bars in the middle of the screen, you can move that down here. All right, so everything is movable. All right, if we want, let's see, want our mini map over here for some reason, we can. So you can have a play with it. Where do you like your bars set up? Where do you want it set up? And you can see here, I've basically made a mess of my UI now. So if you change things and you don't like it, you want to change it back to default, you can. And the easiest way is if you mess up everything and you want it to go back to normal from when it was when you installed it, you can just run the installer again, right? Click all the settings that you want again. Sub details, finish. And it will reset our LVUI and RedtuzkUI back to how it was at the beginning, right? Which is pretty nice. So I'm just going to show you some basic changes that I tend to like to do. So I'm someone that doesn't like my chat box transparent, because if it's bright or there's something I'm looking at and it's making chat hard to read, that annoys me. So you can change that by going to chat, panels, and then here we see panel backdrop. We go left, and now we have a backdrop on our chat panel, right? So testing 1, 2, 3. And if we want to make the font bigger because it's hard to read, we can do that. Right, so there's all the standard settings is here, right? If you want to make your chat box bigger, you can do that as well. We go panel, so panel width, right? We can make it as big or as small as we want. It's up to us. So that's the thing about LVI. Everything is changeable. Even your bars down here, if you want to change your bars. So you see my UI doesn't, I don't have bars in the middle here. I don't even show the bars down here. All of that is changeable in LVI. All right, you just go to action bars, so player bars. So we can see our 10 different bars here. So let's say we want bar 1 to be 12 buttons. We can do that. We want bar 1 to be mouse over only. We can do that, right? So now it's mouse over only. We want it to be really small. And let's take a mouse over only. So you can see now we have a really small bar. You can change all of these things, and then you can move them wherever you want, right? You can even hide it completely if you want. All right, so I've just reset everything here just so that we can go on to the rest of the tutorial without weird bars in all sorts of random places. So you can see LVUI is super powerful. You can change it as you want. You can hide what you don't want, and yeah, have a play with it. Set aside some time to set up your UI exactly how you like it, and it'll look super clean, just like how I have it set up. All right, so let's go on. All right. Oh, and while we're here, we have details. So I'll show you details. LVUI and RedtuzkUI in particular, once you have it set up, it will set up your details damage bar to the corner here. So we can see if we go interface options, add-ons, details. Right, so we open the option panels for details. I'm going to create some test bars. You can see we've got details down here already, right? So it makes details all pretty. It puts in the corner here. It's just really nice. I really love RedtuzkUI because it makes everything pretty and minimalist. So that's details. You pretty much don't have to do anything. You can just leave it as is. There's no real setup for details. It'll do its job just sitting there in the corner. Okay, next is weak auras. So weak auras is basically a program that'll let you make a whole ton of different programs, but you need to know how to use it. So if you install weak auras, you can go to your map here and you should see this icon, weak auras. Super simple, you click on it. All right, these are all the different weak auras I have. I'll show you how each of them work in a bit, but okay, so next we want to set up our weak auras, or at least know how to set up weak auras. So once you install weak auras, it's going to show as this icon on your minimap here. So you click weak auras, and anytime you want to add a new weak aura, you go to import, right, and paste text below. So in any of the links to any of the weak auras that people have, there'll be a page that has a copy import information basically. So you click the copy import button and it will give you a big string of code. You paste this code here, then you click done, right? So I'll just show you how I do that real quick. Okay, so say we are on the classic warcraft UI guide page. We see a UI that we like for the weak auras, right? So let's say we want the classic rogue stats, right? So we want to see our crit cap right now. We click on this link, which takes us to the weak aura page. We click copy up here, right? So we click this button, it will copy the string. We go back into WoW. All right, so let's go back into WoW. And then we paste the code here, all right? And then once you have it, you can basically click import it as copy. It's fine. And it'll make a whole copy, all right? Which is going to show up here now. So now we have this weak aura that's going to show our crit cap. So weak auras are super simple. You can just import them like that for all of the weak auras that are listed, and they're pretty much just set up where you want, and all you have to do is position them pretty much. Alright, so we're back on my rogue here, and I just want to run you through some of the more finicky settings for some of the add-ons that I recommend now. So one of them is NugRunning. So a lot of the other add-ons, you won't have to do anything really to get them set up. It's pretty much just plug and play, install it, and it's very easy and straightforward for it to just start working. But NugRunning, it works as is, but you might want to know how to add things to NugRunning. So for me, for example, I'll show you, I've modded my NugRunning an insane amount to the point where, for example, if we open on this harpy here, let's say we sap this harpy, we have sap showing up here. But if I use other cooldowns, such as sprint and invasion, it shows up over here instead. And then I have cooldowns showing up down in this corner. I have, let's see if we gouge this guy. So we have gouge, it shows up down here for the quick gouge timer. If I slice and dice, it shows up down here. So down here is basically where I have any DPS/raid cooldowns up here. So that when I'm raiding, I can just look in this corner and know that, oh, this is how long I have left on slice and dice. This is how long I have left on invasion. So NugRunning can do a lot. By default, it'll just have one bar that has everything, which is fine. For most people's basic use, I recommend that's what you start out with. But it's a very powerful program. So I'll just show you the basics right now, how you can get just basic things added to NugRunning to start off with, and you can play with that on your own afterwards. So what NugRunning actually has, just so that you know, is a whole bunch of different anchors. You can create anchor points. So if we go into NugRunning, so we'll go interface, NugRunning, unlock, you can see all the different anchors I have, right? Let's get rid of this. So there's one anchor here, another anchor kind of hidden behind here. And then I have one more anchor down here that's really hard to see. But you can create as many anchor points really as you want, right? And what you do is you create groups, and then you assign those groups to those anchor points. It's kind of complicated. I don't really recommend most people do this because you need to be a little bit techy and know what you're doing with this. Otherwise, it might drive you insane trying to figure it out. But if you're interested in that, you have to know how to do it. Just type /n_run in game, right? And you can see here, it gives you a bunch of commands, right? So you can create anchors, delete anchors, create groups. And basically what you want to do, if you want to set it up like me, where you have all of these different anchor points, you create an anchor and it'll basically create this anchor. Then you create a group, and then you assign, when you create a group, you have to assign it to one of the anchors. So I assign it to, let's say, a new anchor. If I create one, I can create an anchor, drag it over here, assign any groups I want to here. So let's say I want to track my Goblin Rocket Helmet cooldown timer, right? So I can do that in NugRunning and assign that spell to that group, and it will appear wherever I drag this thing now. So it is a bit finicky. I definitely don't recommend most people start off with this. But what I do recommend is you can add whatever you want just to your basic NugRunner cooldown bar right now, which that's super simple to do, and I'll show you how to do that right now. Okay, so let's say we wanted to add, okay, we go to my spell list. By the way, all of these, you see a lot of these like blind, slice and dice, rupture, sap, all of that is added by default. So just by default, by install, you don't have to add all of these things to your NugRunning, right? But if you want to add other things, so for example, you guys probably seen my rogue, wait, let's get rid of these ugly bars on my screen. Okay, so you guys have probably seen my Veil 2K DPS video. A lot of people ask, how do I get the lip timer showing up for my NugRunning? Well, what you do is you click here. You can see I've added it already, but if I didn't have this, this is how you would do it. So you go to spells, then you click new spell, and all you need is the spell ID, right? All you need is the spell ID here. So I'll show you now. We'll go to Wowhead to get the spell ID. So let's open Firefox. We'll go to Wowhead. So let's say we wanted lips. So limited invulnerability potions. Okay, so let's go to the lip page. So on the lip page, we want to spell. So we click on the actual spell that it's going to use. We'll click on that. And now we want to look at the URL at the top here. All right, so right here you can see spell equals, there's a number. So you copy that number, that is your spell ID. So this is how you find any spell ID for anything that you want to track in NugRunning. So now let's go back to our game. Okay, so we enter our spell ID here. You click save, and notice it just auto imports all the information. You don't have to fill all the rest of this stuff out. It's just going to fill in the name, the duration, everything. And what you want to do if you wanted to have a whole bunch of different anchor points like me, is you create groups and anchor points, and then you assign it to whichever group that you want. And yeah, that's getting a bit more complicated. You don't have to do that, but if you just want to add something to track, you can see I even track Crusader procs through it. Is you just do that, you get the spell ID, you click save, and it just adds it automatically like that. And if you want to add cooldowns, you can do that as well. So NugRunning is super powerful. You can have your own play with it. If you come and join my stream and you want to ask exactly how I do a lot of these things, come check out the stream. I stream every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday from about 6 p.m. Pacific onwards, and you can ask and get your. I'll show you more in depth there, but it's super finicky, and it requires a little bit of know-how. So I don't recommend most people set up a billion anchors like me. I know like it's very excessive to do that, but I just wanted to show you the power of NugRunning once you really set it up exactly how you want it. But yeah, so you can track anything you want pretty much in NugRunning if you just add the spell ID. Okay, so let's cover ItemRack next, which is super powerful. You can see down here I have my own ItemRack bar, basically, where I have all my hot, easily swappable gear things. But if you want to create a button, it's super simple. All you do is open your character window once you have ItemRack installed for Classic. So let's say I wanted to add braces, right? I wanted one of these cool fancy buttons for braces. You just hold Alt key and click on the braces. So we do a left click here, and you see this pops up. This shows all the braces that I have available. You can drag it, you can connect it to one of your existing things and then drag it like that if you want. And that's going to drive me crazy now because I'm going to have to go back and set it exactly how I want. But yeah, so you can get rid of that by clicking again. So Alt click basically makes it appear or disappear to make these fancy little buttons. Okay, so next let's cover the ItemRack trinket menu options. So if you want your two trinket menus, so let's say you've created these two trinket buttons for your top and bottom trinket, and you want them to interact where you can right click. So if I right click on, let's say this gnomish cloaking device, it's going to go into my bottom trinket slot. If I left click, it's going to go into my top trinket slot. Right, so I'm going to left click and it's going to go to the top trinket slot. If I right click on my title charm, it's going to go to my bottom trinket slot. So if you want it to behave like this, just open ItemRack options. So you type /ItemRack opt to open the options menu, right? And then here we have under config, roll all the way down here, and you see that's trinket menu mode. So that's super simple. You just check that, and that enables trinket menu mode for these two buttons. And that's super simple. Now the other thing you might want to do in ItemRack is to create sets. So I have sets for PvP, sets for fire resist, for mount, for other things. There's a whole bunch of things you can do with sets, but the most basic option, which I'm going to show you now, is just to create sets of gear and then a button that will basically let you swap all the gear instantly. So you see down here in one of my menus, so you have PvP, PvE, and then up here I have fire resist as well. So if I'm in my PvP gear right now, if I click PvP, it's going to swap in all my PvP gear. All right. If I click PvE, it's going to swap in all my PvE gear for me. So that's super simple to do. So I'll show you how to do it now. We'll go back into ItemRack options. Right. So all you have to do here is you create a set first, right? So if you don't have a set here, you want to make a set. So type in a name or whatever you want, right? And then pick all the gear options here, so you can select all your gear options, and then you save that. And how I have these macro buttons down here is basically with a simple macro. So you can see for my PvP set right here is ItemRack, so /ItemRack equip, and then the name of the set, and that's it. That's all you have to do to create a button for that set once you've already got that set in ItemRack. Right, so that's super simple, super straightforward. ItemRack does have other things like queuing trinkets and queuing gear, so that if one trinket's on cooldown, it'll automatically swap in another trinket, things like that. But personally, I don't like using those because sometimes they screw me up when I'm trying to do something and it swaps in the trinket, or it doesn't swap in the thing because I was in combat or something like that. It's really finicky. I don't like using those settings. But if you want to use those, you can go ahead. Those are basically the options in ItemRack. So yeah, those are just the general basics that I recommend you use ItemRack for. Okay, so now let's cover MiksScrollingBattleText, MSBT. So this one's a bit finicky. I love the add-on, but when it comes installed, it has too much stuff added to it. It basically just spams you like crazy. You have a billion things coming up. So MiksScrollingBattleText is basically this. If you see here, all right, my damage appears on one side of my character and my incoming damage appears on the other side, right? Which is basically just nice. So like if I'm in combat and I'm not hitting the enemy for some reason, I can look here and I'll see, oh, I've got no damage going out, something's going wrong. Or if I have damage coming in, I can see it instantly. So it makes it really nice by separating it into two different sides. But as I said, by default, it has too much stuff enabled, right? So I'll show you right now. You type /MSBT, enter. So what you want to do is first make sure, obviously this is not checked because you have MSBT, you don't need Blizzard's combat text as well. So make sure this is how you have it set up. I recommend unclicking sticky crits because really messes you up, like especially on Veil. If you watch my Veil video, if you have sticky crits on, it makes it super hard to track what's going on. You want to see that when you backstab, a backstab appears. You don't want a backstab just hanging around on your left of your screen here for a while and you're confused whether you just backstab or if that's an old backstab or something like that. Just don't even worry about it. Unclick the sticky crit so that it doesn't confuse you. What else do we have set? So the rest of my things here are pretty standard. I don't even really have much enabled here for the spam control, but what you do want to do is here, I turn off player cooldowns. You can keep it on if you want, but for me, it was just spamming me every time one of my abilities or something was ready. It would just appear above my screen. That was really annoying, so I turned that off. Loot alerts, I turned off money gains. You can turn off looted items and currency gains as well. Those don't bother me too much, so I left them on. Skill icons are left alone, but what you really want to turn off is, okay, under events, go to events, right? So these are all the things that can appear, but what you want to go is to go to notifications, turn off buffs, item buffs, and buff fades. because those three things will drive you crazy if you have them enabled. They'll just be, you'll constantly be seeing Sinister Strike fades, or if you're a Horde, Wind Fury will keep appearing over your head non-stop. And yeah, and if people buff you, it's going to appear here. It's just a lot of spam when you're in raids. I started disabling more and more things lately, and it's been so much better since I turned these things off. So I recommend turning these three options off. And I turned reputation gains off as well, because if you're on ZG, you just get spammed like crazy with that. Experience gains as well, but if you're max level, that doesn't really matter. Killing blows I turned off as well. And that's pretty much it. The rest it is pretty straightforward. The only thing else I did was I moved where the things were a little bit. So if we go to scroll areas, you click on configure scroll areas, you can change, right? So I have incoming damage here, outgoing here. I have static just announcements that appear down here, and notifications. Like if I enter or exit combat, it appears here. That's notifications. So that's basically how I have my MiksScrollingBattleText set up. But besides that, the other thing that you want to do, you definitely want to do this, is in Windows, right? So not even in game. So I'm going to show you my desktop now. Okay, so we're on my desktop now. So where you want to go is to wherever you have battle.net installed, either under your program files or your games folder, wherever you've installed it. You go battle.net, you go World of Warcraft, Classic, Interface, Add-ons. Okay, we scroll down to MiksScrollingBattleText. Then you want to go into MSBT main. All right, right click edit. You can open this in Notepad and it's perfectly fine. And then we scroll down to here. Okay, so you see this thing under constants. It will say how long to wait before showing events so that merges may happen. Change this time to 0.001 and then click file and save. Right, so I think by default it's 3 seconds or something ridiculous. You don't want that. You want events to show up. So if you backstab, you want it to show up instantly, right? So change that to 0.001, click save, and that's it. Okay, so the other thing I want to show you guys is more general, but I think a lot of people are scared to use TSM, which is TradeSkillMaster, because it's super complicated. It's not really easy to use the first time because it's insanely powerful and has a billion functions, but you should still install it even if you only use this one setting on TSM, which is just to search and use the auction house, because if you don't use TSM, everything really sucks to use. And it doesn't have to be TSM. You can use a different auction house add-on, but TSM is the most popular one, so I'll cover that here. So I have TSM installed, right? And every time you run it, if you haven't opened TSM for a while, asked to do a scan, you can yes or no, whatever. But all you have to do to know for TSM, right, is when you want to buy stuff, you click on shopping, then click on run shopping scan, and then here under enter filter, whatever you want, right? So let's say I want to check the price on Mooncloth. Enter Mooncloth and press enter, and here you can see all the Mooncloth options, right? So this helps because if it's something dumb like, let's say Runecloth, and you have people who put a billion stacks of a billion posts of one piece of Runecloth, and it's clogging up the auction house, and you don't want to look at that. You want to find the cheapest Runecloth. This helps so much. Right, so if nothing else, use TSM just for this so that you can find the cheapest price for what you want. So you can see here, this is the cheapest buyout for a 20 stack, and this guy has 15 stacks of 20 posted, and you can just buy if you want that. So that's all you have to use TSM for. You don't have to use all the other settings if you're scared to use them or whatever. You can even just click up here and switch back to normal WoW UI if you want to auction and do other things, but just for searching for things, this makes it so much simpler, and I highly recommend everyone at least use something like this if you want to be able to use auction house without it being insanely just a massive headache, basically. Okay, so now let's cover one of my favorite add-ons for poison, which is Hemlock. So Hemlock basically creates this menu. So you can see here this menu appears next to any poison supplies vendor when you open the vendor box. And what it does is it basically lets you set how many you'd like to have in your inventory. And if you click on it, it's going to buy and fill up your inventory to that number. And for poisons, if you click on it twice, it's going to buy first, and then the second click is going to make it for you. So you basically don't have to think about how many dust of deteriorations do I need, how many dust of decays, etc., etc. So we can see here I have it set to 40. So let's say I wanted it to 60, right? You can just right click and then flash powder, and you can change the amount here on the slider. So let's say we have it set to 40 and I want to buy, so I just left click and it refills, so it buys 20 for me. Now the other thing it does is the poisons. So here we click, we can see I have it set to 120 poisons. I'm missing 2, so I have 18 poisons on me. So I left click once. It's going to open the poisons window and buy all the ingredients I need for 2 more instant poisons. Then I click again and it's going to make the poisons for me. So this is just a really simple add-on that just makes it way simpler to have your poisons made. Basically, it takes all the thinking out of it. So I really recommend it for any rogue. Okay, so the other poisons add-on that I like is called Poisoner. Now it does have a whole bunch of different options, but the main one that I want to highlight is this. So this button down here, it creates a little clickable button that you can drag. You can put it anywhere. I just put it down here. But if I left click on this, notice that it does crippling poison on my main hand. If I right click, it does crippling poison on my offhand. And if I hold shift and click, now it's doing instant poison. If I hold shift and right click, it's doing instant poison on my other weapon. So if we open Poisoner, you can see here under poison sets, I have it all set up for this button. So main hand set is crippling poison. If I press shift, it's instant poison. If I press control, I can actually put mind numbing poison. Wound is my alt key. So it just makes it way easier when I'm in the middle of battle. I don't have to look for poisons or anything in my bags. I just click here however I want to click and it applies the poison. Now what I do have to say is do not use the auto buy function in Poisoner. It's kind of broken. That's why I use Hemlock, as I mentioned earlier. So you can ignore the auto buy functions here. But the other setting that you can use is this, right? So this is a timer for expiring poisons, basically. So you guys have seen sometimes when my offhand or main hand is missing a poison. So let's say, let's swap out one of my weapons here. So let's put my claw in, right? So now it's seeing that I have a claw in, but there's no poison applied here at all. So now it's showing this icon. So I can set warning alerts to basically when it will appear or start appearing and fading in when it hits 5 minutes before my poisons expire. So it's just a very handy little poison expiration thing. This one isn't so crucial because there's a ton of weak auras that do the same thing, but I mean, if you already have Poisoner installed for the cool little button down here, then you must as well use this function where it warns you about missing poisons or expiring poisons. But yeah, so together this Poisoner and Hemlock are basically taking care of all your rogue poison needs. Okay, so the last add-on I want to cover is NugEnergy. So if I stealth here, you see it's going to appear here, NugEnergy. It's just an energy ticker add-on, basically, but I like it because it's clean and it only appears when I need it. So you saw it, I didn't have it there when I was just standing around doing nothing, but when I wanted it, it appeared because I went into stealth, so it thinks like I might be opening on something and need to know my energy levels. And if I'm not full energy, it'll be there as well. So it's basically really smart. I like the programming on this so that it's really clean. And you can actually mod it more than people realize. So a lot of people think you can just move it around. But if you type any NugUI, you can actually mod the colors. You notice that mine's always this one color. I prefer it that way, but you can change the colors. You can change it so that on the next energy tick, if you would have too much energy or if you be capped, it'll be a different color. You can change the width, the height, the texture behind it, even the font that it uses. It's just a very customizable but clean energy ticket add-on, which is why I like NugEnergy. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed this guide. If you liked it, feel free to subscribe. If you still have questions, I'm live on Twitch every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday from 6 p.m. Pacific. Feel free to also drop by the Classic Roguecraft Discord, link in the description, where I have my full Rogue UI list. So even more add-ons that I didn't talk about here. I have my entire UI, every single weak aura I use, every single add-on I use for PvP, PvE, raiding, you name it. So come check it out, and I'll see you guys in the next video.